It's your first day in prison, and that means showing all those other guys that you're the one in charge. After all, you're not locked in here with them, they're locked in here with you. So show them who's boss, right? Well, maybe not. Because on today's episode of the Infographic Show, this is things you should never do in prison if you want to live. Okay, so you probably shouldn't have stolen that car, and you shouldn't have tried to drag race that cop car, and you definitely shouldn't have told the judge where he could stick his gavel. But hey, that's all in the past now. You did the crime and now you're doing the time. It's all about making a good first impression because that could set the tone for your whole time here. And unlike an awkward roommate situation, there is no escaping this social situation. That's why your buddy thought that he was being helpful when he suggested smuggling some goods in to tide you over. It might even help curry favor with your roommates. Well, from the feel of this cavity search you're getting from the guards, that would not have been a good idea. Anything you tried to get in there would have been found quickly, and you'd probably be starting off your prison career in solitary. From that moment on, the guards would have definitely been up in your space. And that is rule number 1 of your time in prison. You don't mess with the guards. Number 10. If there is one thing that unites everyone in the old Hoosgow, it's that no one likes the correction officers. Those guys are tough, and they want everyone to know it. This job attracts people who aren't afraid to be the bad guy, and it's hard to get anyone to care about how crooks are treated. That means that if you step out of line, even a little, the guards could rough you up and then toss you in the punishment cells. You can already tell that you're gonna hate these guys as they shove you down the hall to your cell. Maybe you could take a swing at one of them. That would be a very bad idea. For one thing, you are massively outnumbered and the guards will be mad. This is a surefire way to start your prison time with a serious beating and a long time in the hole, and be a walking target when you come out if you ever get there. Prison guards often have a law enforcement background, and they have a lot of latitude when dealing with attackers. While they usually don't carry firearms, a gun in prison is a major liability, they are equipped with non-lethal weapons and extensively trained in restraint techniques. It's entirely possible for an inmate who attacks a guard to wind up dead. So yeah, leave the guards alone. Now it's time to meet the rest of the inmates. Number 9. The most important person to you in prison is your cellmate. Except for high-risk inmates or those in protective custody, every inmate is likely to have a buddy for the first time they're in prison. It's just like college, but with more tattoos and a much higher chance of getting into a brawl. Well, maybe your college roomie was asking for it with how messy he was, but this is complicated because your roomie might not be in the same situation you're in. You're doing 3 years, maybe out in 2, but your roomie might be a hardened criminal doing 25 to life with nothing to lose. Or he might be getting out next week, which means that you'll be doing the roommate roulette all over again. Well, it's time to spin and see who you're staying with. Seems like it might be another young guy who is currently busy reading on his bunk. He doesn't look like he's going to be much trouble, and he barely gives you a nod as you walk into the cell. This should be easy. But these quarters are pretty tight. You can already tell that you might get on each other's nerves. Should you square up to him and let him know who's in charge here? You might even try to take that top bunk. That would be a great way to let him know who's the alpha dog in this cell. That might feel good, but it would not be good for your prospects. Not only would the guards be on you pretty quickly if a brawl starts, but you are stuck with your roommate for the long haul. From the look of him, you could probably take him in a fight, but you'll be sleeping just a few feet away from him tonight. The last thing you want is to give him any reason to come after you when you're at your most vulnerable. It's best to let this play out, be the junior partner in the cell, and see where this goes. After all, he is the experienced one here, and you might need his help to get used to the crazy prison ecosystem. When it comes to prison cells, the rules of what not to do are pretty simple. Don't do anything to your roomie that you wouldn't want him doing to you. Don't go through his things, don't encroach in his personal space. Don't keep him up at night, and definitely don't stare and smile at him when he's using the bathroom. Basically, just don't be a jerk, and you should be fine. Even the most hardened inmates normally try to stay out of trouble in their cell. It's pretty easy to wind up in worse quarters if you make the cell a hostile place. But out there in the prison yard, that's a very different story. Number 8. America is a wonderfully diverse place, and that means the prison population is too. But that doesn't mean that you'll be putting together a friend group that looks like a 1980s cartoon, unfortunately. In the prison yard, like tends to gather with like, so friend groups are often based along racial and ethnic lines. And by friend groups, we mean gangs. You're likely to quickly clue in on just which one of the groups are tightly affiliated. There will be the Black and Latino gangs, of course, but there won't be one white gang. White people don't get along that well.
There might be a band of skinheads, but maybe also an Italian mob gang and a Russian mob gang, which makes this all feel like a game of trying to find a table at a middle school lunch. It might be tempting to just stay out of this and not play the popularity game. After all, if you don't indebt yourself to any group, the other groups will have no reason to come after you, right? But actually, not befriending anyone might be one of the worst things you can do in the prison system. If you don't have any friends, you don't have any protection. And while no one might be coming after you directly, that still makes you a target. A connected gang member might find you an easy mark for robbing once you get a hold of something from the commissary. So, it might be time to put on that charm offensive and befriend everyone you can, right? Again, not so much. Prison is a tricky social environment, and there is such a thing as too much of a good thing. If you try to befriend everyone, you might just be seen as untrustworthy. The gangs will try to think that you're trying to double deal, befriend the enemy, and possibly gain favors in exchange for information. This could not only make you a persona non grata in all of the gangs, but it could make you a target for retaliation. You just wanted to get some friends, and now you're in danger of winding up the star attraction in a mob movie. But at least there is one group you can befriend without consequences, right? Number 7. You're suddenly glad that you didn't annoy anyone on the way in, because maybe sticking closer to the authorities may be the best idea. If you behave, you might be able to get a prison job that makes you a trustee, giving you added privileges that most inmates don't have. But while this might provide you a little added comfort, it's also a big liability. Remember how much everyone hated the kid who reminded the teacher to collect the homework in elementary school? That's how everyone in prison sees the guys who are working for the guards and the warden, which means the best approach might be based on what you bring to the table. Prisons have their own economy. On the surface level, there's the concession stand, which is distinctly less packed than it is at the ballpark, but it still offers some tastes of home. You can get specialty food like ramen or treats like chocolate bars, even personal items. Prisoners buy from there using preloaded cards with money provided by their loved ones back home, and everything is above board, at least on the surface. There's actually a prominent black market for these goods, and more, hidden below the surface. Inmates will trade for black market goods, and some might essentially become kingpins of the prison. Sounds like a good racket. So, is it time to start your own business? Well, that might seem like a good idea, but it's actually opening you up to a whole lot of trouble. The first reason is because illegal prison businesses are, well, illegal. It's another way to get you in trouble with the guards, and you are unlikely to be able to conceal your activities because you don't know the ins and outs of the prison yet. The bigger problem for you as a rookie prison entrepreneur is that you're likely to step on some serious toes right out of the gate. The more established resellers and black market operators won't take kindly to a newcomer muscling in on their turf. Chances are they'll try to shut you down fast, and you can't exactly go to the guards and tell them, "Hey, so my illegal business is being threatened." And that takes you to one of the most important things you shouldn't be doing in prison. Number 6. There's a famous expression, snitches get stitches, and while it might be most commonly used by school bullies, it is nowhere as important as in prison. There, you're likely to witness or be the victim of countless minor offenses each day. And often the guards will find out and demand to know who's responsible. Saying the truth will curry favor with the guards, but it'll also annoy those guys who are friends with the culprit, and they can make your life hell in countless ways once the guards go away. And it might be tempting to go the other way, but that could be an even worse decision. The guards need eyes on the floor, and if they trust someone, they might be willing to make their time in prison a lot easier. You give them information one time, and they keep coming back to you. Soon, they're offering you perks to collect information and give it back to them. It's almost like you're an undercover officer, not a prison snitch. It's pretty exciting until you remember what happens to rats in mob movies. This isn't just a good way to get ostracized from your fellow prisoners, it's a good way to get killed. So remember, you didn't see nothing, you don't say nothing. In fact, that's one of the most important rules of any time in prison. Knowledge is power, and it can also be danger. So as soon as you wind up in the cell, you might be tempted to ask your roomie, "What are you in for?" It's an icebreaker, right? Except it might be a very sore spot. If he's in for a minor theft, or even worse, if he was wrongfully accused, he's likely bitterly resentful for it, and you just made him relive it. If he's a hardened killer and they still haven't found all the bodies, well, you just ensure that you are not sleeping particularly well on the bottom bunk, and the more information your fellow inmates have on you, the more dangerous it is. Number 5. One of the most important rules of prison is that there's a pecking order among the criminals. Some criminals are kind of like the elites of the prison. Everyone fears and respects them and they stay out of the way. They're usually gang leaders, gun runners, and anyone with ties to organized crime. Then come the standard criminals. Gun crime, robbery, drug dealing. These criminals are believed to know the score and be able to fend for themselves, so they're seen as useful by the top rung. After that, your petty crooks, your drug users, and most first-timers are generally just looking to keep to themselves. And anyone who has hurt a woman or especially a child is considered scum of the earth in prison. They preyed on the weak, and in prison, they are the weak, and everyone is happy to show them that. So, what do you do if someone asks? And they will. Rumors get around, so most people know what general criminals are in for, and those who are in for the most despicable crimes usually find themselves as targets. Fortunately, that's not you, so if you want to avoid the extra attention, the best strategy is probably just to say some general things. Stole a car should do it, without giving you any added attention that you don't want. The odds are you'll still be able to get protection from an appropriate gang without having to do too much. And you're kinda scrawny, so the big boss likely won't want you to be an enforcer. But the more you talk, the more vulnerable you are. If your case is still open or you're in contact with your lawyer, it might be tempting to talk about it. After all, everyone wants to get out of the big house, but that's exciting to everyone here. And if you think you're getting out soon, well, they think they might be able to as well. The best case scenario is that suddenly you're a de facto legal advisor to the entire prison, and you might be forced into making promises you can't keep. Never a good thing. But if you let it slip that you might be getting out ahead of schedule, everyone might think that you're an easy target for theft and shakedowns. After all, you won't be using those commissary goods soon. And it's not just the money you have in prison you need to think about. Number 4. One of the biggest mistakes anyone can make in prison is to let people know about their financial status outside of prison. This includes if they have a fat bank account, if they have a huge drug stockpile, or even if they have millions in password-protected Bitcoin waiting. They can't access it from behind bars, but others on the outside can, and that means some aggressive treasure hunters inside could torture the info out of the owner and then pass it along to friends on the outside who waste no time emptying the stash while the owner is behind bars. Of course, for some it might be tempting to leverage the only tool they have. There is no one more scarred than a white-collar criminal doing their first hitch in prison. Sure, most of them go to Club Fed where they can play tennis with Sam Bankman-Fried, but occasionally one runs into a hard-nosed judge who won't give them any special treatment. Suddenly, they're rooming with a hard-boiled gun runner, and it might seem like a good idea to offer them a hefty payday when they get out. But while this might get you bodyguard services, it also gives some valuable information to your roommate, and they might be tempted to abuse it, either extorting more and more protection money or passing it on to someone who might have sinister intentions. But no matter how you slice it, money is going to be very important in the prison system. Number 3. How much money you have will depend on how many friendly faces you have on the outside. An indulgent mother or a guilty wife will be happy to drop some money in the commissary account, letting you take those sweet little tastes of home back to your cell. But the prices at the commissary can often be a little high. It almost feels like you're going to the ballpark without any of the enjoyment. And that means that money can run out quickly, leaving you craving those ramen noodles until the next time mom can do a money transfer. What could be the harm in borrowing a little from a prison buddy? Alert! Alert! This just might be the worst thing you can do in prison. It's easy to go into debt in prison, and the system isn't regulated at all. This is part of the prison black market, and that means that the debt and interest is whatever your lender says it is. If you're lucky, they'll just be waiting for you the next time you get money uploaded into your account. But if you're late, they may decide to cash in that debt another way. That might be roughing you up to make their point, or it may be demanding you work it off. In prison, that is rarely a good thing. You may be tasked with smuggling contraband or stealing from fellow prisoners or even the guards. If you pull it off, they may come to you for future favors, and if you don't, this is a great way to get thrown into the hole or even killed. If you're the one with a flush commissary account, it might be tempting to just give a little to a friend to help them out. But as anyone who ever lent money knows, it usually doesn't work out that way. Now you're the debt collector, and you have to harass the person for your money back. Maybe they give it to you, but the whole thing is awkward, or maybe they just ignore you, or even tell their gang leader that they're being harassed and you catch a beating for trying to get your money back. There are no guarantees in prison, so the best thing to say when anyone asks for a little help with cash is, "Sorry, I'm a little short this month." And really, the golden rule in prison might just be play it safe. Number 2. There are going to be a lot of little indignations along the way. For instance, when you're lined up for chow in the prison cafeteria. This is a medium security prison, so there's a lot of time out from your cell and lots of time to be harassed by the other inmates. Maybe a bigger guy cuts in front of you in the lunch line. You're tempted to call him out, but that could mean a fight, a beating, and the whole. And the alternative is, well, you wait about 10 seconds more for prison chow, which really isn't that good anyway. Which way is your day going to be a lot less stressful? But letting people push you around all the time isn't a good idea either. Sometimes a bully sees an easy mark, and once they do, they won't let up, and that's why staying totally isolated in prison is risky. You don't need to join a gang, but it is smart to build a tight circle of people who have got your back. Sometimes all it takes is for a prison big man to see a little opposition, and they go looking for an easier target. They know the guards all have power too, and a big guy doesn't want to go in the hole any more than you do. And hey, just because you're locked up doesn't mean it's not time for self-improvement. It might be tempting to just veg out in prison, eating snacks from the commissary, taking the computer time that you can, and relaxing out in the yard during rec hour. But it is surprisingly easy to pack on the pounds in prison. American prisons don't serve great food, but they do generally serve 3 squares that are often pretty carb-heavy. Prison isn't a great place to develop health problems, so you make a note to make the most of rec time. You don't think that you want to compete with the big guys for the weights, but you could at least walk some laps around the yard. And there is one vice you know you're not falling into. You're not the first member of your family to wind up in prison, and your cousin had one big piece of advice for you. Don't get addicted to anything. It's really hard to kick a drug habit under the best circumstances, and these are far from those. And once you need something to feed an addiction, it is incredibly easy to get into debt. No matter what your dealer is offering you, you will be willing to pay it. Looks like it's time to pay attention to those drug education lessons from elementary school. If only you weren't playing on your phone during those. And above all, the most important thing to keep in mind in prison is, don't drop the soap. Number 1. Seriously, prisons are filthy, showers are communal, and you'll often have dozens of guys washing off days of grime. Those prisons are a petri dish, and the floor is even more so. And you'll be rubbing that all over your body. A prison is a terrible place to be sick, and your roommate might not like you coughing up a lung under him. So stay healthy. And hey, maybe all the preservatives in those ramen noodles that you've been buying will work some wonders on your immune system. Now find out why you won't survive one day in the world's most dangerous prison. And if you really can't hack it on the inside, check out most creative ways prisoners have escaped from supermax prisons.